Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today we are doing a roundup of all of the books I decided to DNF, which for those of you unfamiliar, that means I didn't finish them by choice because I didn't like them. I was either bored, didn't like the writing, didn't like the story. There's a myriad of reasons why I quit books, but I thought I would share some of them with you today. Alright, first up is The Stand by Stephen King. Now, Stephen King is one of those authors where I either love or really dislike his books. So most of the books I've read of his are either like 4 or 5 stars or like 1 or 2 stars. This was a 1 star. For my Goodreads star ratings, I give 1 stars to books that I don't finish. That's the only reason I ever give a 1 star. So The Stand I found to be an intriguing concept. It's a really interesting story about this like post-apocalyptic how people come together and how human behavior evolves in this disastrous kind of storyline. And I typically really like stories like that, but this is a over 1,000-page book and I was just really bored. I think I read almost half of it and I was just so uninterested in the characters. I couldn't keep track of who was going where and doing what because it was just really drawn out. Like even just like specific scenes and stuff were just taking forever to get through, and I just didn't really like it, which is funny because I just finished another over 1,000-page book by Stephen King, which was It, and I loved that book despite a little bit of stuff at the end. But other than that, it was like a 4 or 5 star rating for me. So like I said, his books are really hit or miss. I do enjoy some of his books that are longer. I don't enjoy this one. The next one on my DNF list is a potentially controversial one. Don't come at me in the comments, but it is All the Light We Cannot See. A lot of people really praise this book really highly, and I kind of get it. Like, it's a really deep story. It's historical fiction, and, you know, it tugs on your heartstrings, and it has pretty flowery language in it, which maybe that turned me off a lot to it, but I just found the storyline boring by, I think, a third or a half into it. I just really wasn't connected to any of the characters, and when I get to that point in a book and I'm not like rooting for a character or really pulling for them or really wanting to know what's happening with their storyline, I just have no interest in further reading the book. The next one is also a very well-loved book. It's a classic by Kurt Vonnegut Jr., and that is Slaughterhouse-Five. I listened to this on audiobook and I just got really tired of the repetitive kind of storyline, and it was a very confusing kind of sci-fi storyline, and I just was confused, and most of the characters I didn't care about. I didn't like them. I didn't want to go anywhere with their stories, and maybe I need to read this as a physical book instead of an audiobook. Maybe that would draw me in a little bit more. I'm not sure, but I really didn't enjoy this, and I haven't read any more books from that author either, but if you really recommend any that you think I would like, please let me know. Next up is a book that I straight up rage quit, and it was not that far into it that I did this. I think it was like an hour into the audiobook, and that is All the Bright Places. I just really didn't like the relationship between the two main characters. I felt like the guy was just a really big jerk, and she was just, I don't know, I didn't really like them, and I could kind of see where the storyline was going, and I knew it was going to piss me off, so I decided to quit it. I didn't like how they were portraying mental illness and depression, and if that's your experience with that, that's nothing against you or saying that your experience is wrong or anything like that. I just didn't really like the language around it and how it was portrayed. I don't think it was very well done, and I ended up reading a synopsis of the book after I quit reading it because I wanted to know if I was right, and I was. And I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but I'm really glad I didn't finish reading this book. Next is actually a children's classic, and that is Bridge to Terabithia. I started reading this not that long ago. I think it was this past year, and I really hated the kids. The kids, like, not even necessarily the main characters, but like, they called their teacher or bus driver, I can't remember which, fat about like 10 times in like just a few chapters, and I just got really tired of the negative language and like how just mean and cruel they were, and I just didn't even want to get past that because of it. I just really didn't like it, and this is another one that I read the synopsis of after I quit it, and I'm so glad I didn't get to the end of this because it sounds infuriating. This next one I actually felt really bad for not liking because a very good friend of mine gave me his copy to read, and it's one of his absolute favorite books, and that is The World According to Garp by John Irving. And right off the bat, I really hated the mom character in this book. There's something that happens at the beginning that I don't know, I might just tell you about it because it's really at the very beginning, so it's not a huge spoiler, but the mom essentially like falls in love-ish, kind of, not really, with this soldier who's basically brain dead. Or he's not brain dead, he's just, some stuff has happened to his brain in war that caused him to basically revert to being like a 5-year-old or like a 10-year-old. It was a really young kid is basically what his brain function was at. And she decided to, as his nurse, go and sleep with him one night. And I just had a really big problem with that. And the book, I think I read probably almost half of it, and up until that point, they do not reference her doing this. They don't commentate on it that it's wrong or that it wasn't a good thing to do. If it was reversed and a guy, like male nurse, had done this to a female patient, everyone would be livid. So I'm livid about a woman doing it to a guy. I had major issues with that. And then going forward, there was just a lot of stuff that happened. Garp ended up being like a giant jerk. I didn't like the decisions he made. Like, everything in this book was just infuriating. It just made me angry the whole time I was reading it, and I didn't enjoy it. And the conversations had around sex were very not sex positive, or not like, I don't know, it didn't value people during it, and I just had really big issues with that. And to finish up my DNF list is actually a sequel in a series, and which surprised me a lot because I loved the first book in this series. I gave it 5 stars, and I do not give out 5 stars lightly. And that is the Scorch Trials, which is the second Maze Runner book. I absolutely loved the Maze Runner. I think it was excellent. It was a fantastic story. I loved the way it was written. And then you get to the Scorch Trials, and everything goes to shit, and not in like a entertaining, fun, good way. It was just stupid. So I get about halfway through this book. That seems to be the theme with these, is I get like a good halfway through it before I'm like, no, I don't care about the second half of this book. But everything that happened at the beginning of this book was confusing. I could not keep track of what was happening. Like, I felt like I was taking crazy pills or just like stupid pills because I didn't understand what was going on. I felt like the author like decided that he had like 20 different ideas to take this book in and took them in all of those directions instead of like narrowing it down to just a few. And it was just so disappointing. And I kind of read a lot of non-spoiler reviews of the third book in the series just to see if I needed to push through the second one to get to the third one, which is the final one in the trilogy, I believe. Maybe there's a fourth one. But, and most people said that that also kind of happened in the third book as well, and it really frustrated them. So I was like, I'm out. I can't do it. No, thank you. And I didn't enjoy the movie that much either. The first Maze Runner movie I liked. I thought it was a pretty good adaptation. The second one made a little bit more sense of the book, but it's still not great. And it was just a really unhappy read. And I was really disappointed after really loving the first book that this one turned out to not be what I wanted. That wraps up my DNF list, or my did not finish book list. Let me know if you actually enjoyed any of these books. Like I said, if you have enjoyed these books, this is nothing against you or your taste. This is just how I felt about them. Let me know if there's any books that you've DNF'd that you strongly encourage me to stay away from, because I will take that into consideration when I'm adding books to my TBR, because I need to know if there are certain ones I should avoid because of just god-awfulness. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a little bit more of a negative video, which, I don't know. Let me know if you like that or not. This channel might be a little more positive, a little more negative, a little neutral. We'll see. But if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up down below. It really helps me out. It lets YouTube algorithm know that you like my videos and that it should be shown to more people. So please do that. And if you like my videos and my channel, please give me a subscribe as well. I would love to have you join this Bookish Beauty family. I do have book and beauty content, so if you like either one of those subjects, this is the place for you. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.